Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers, welcome back to online classes of Iqra Hufaz Degree College, our project of Iqra education system. In the last video lectures, we have covered chapter number 1 from prose section and some of the grammar topics included in section there. Today, in this video lecture, we will start poetry section from our book Selections from English Words Part 2. The first poem in part 2 is The Seven Ages of Men, as you can see on the board here in front of you. These are the lines taken from As You Like It, written by William Shakespeare. The contents we will cover in this poem are characters, introduction to the poet, background of the poem, introduction to the poem, keywords and meanings, and summary and explanation. This chapter or poem will be covered in 3 parts. In the first part today, I will take you through characters, introduction to the poet, background of the poem, and introduction to the poem. While in the second part, we will go through the keywords and meanings, and in the third part, I will summarize and explain the whole poem. Let's start from the characters first. My dear brothers, there are many notable characters used in this poem, but we will be discussing these 10 characters as they have been discussed in our poem, The Seven Ages of Men. Character number 1, Sir Ronald de Bois. Character number 2, Duke Frederick. Character number 3, Rosalind. Character number 4, Celia. Character number 5, Oliver de Bois. 6, Jacques de Bois. Character number 7, Orlando de Bois. Character number 8, Jacques. Character number 9, Charles. And character number 10, Touchstone. Let's go through introduction to the poet. William Shakespeare was an English poet, playwright, and actor of the Renaissance era. He was an important member of the King's Men Company of theatrical players from roughly 1594 onward. Known throughout the world, Shakespeare's writings capture the range of human emotions and conflict and have been celebrated for more than 400 years. And yet, the personal life of William Shakespeare is somewhat a mystery. Known throughout the world, there are 2 primary sources that provide historians with an outline of his life. One is his work, the plays, poems and sonnets, and the other is official documentation such as church and court records. However, these provide only brief sketches of specific events in his life and yield little insight into the man himself. Shakespeare is known for his outstanding work on English literature. He is the main source of modifying Middle English into modern English. Shortly speaking, despite heavy criticism from renowned critics, Dr. Samuel Johnson and George Bernard Shaw, Shakespeare is considered one of the greatest revolutionists of English language. Let's go through the background of this poem. The name of this poem is As You Like It, and it has 5 acts. This poem is drafted mainly in 2 scenes, the court and the forest of Arden. And people have given it the other title, The Seven Ages of Men. And this poem is based upon the theme of love, or you may call it romantic comedy. As You Like It is a pastoral comedy by William Shakespeare, believed to have been written in 1599 AD and first published in the first folio in 1623 AD. As You Like It follows its heroine Rosalind as she flees persecution in her uncle's court, accompanied by her cousin Celia, to find safety and eventually love in the forest of Arden. In the forest, they encounter a variety of memorable characters, notably the melancholy traveler Jacques, who speaks many of Shakespeare's most famous speeches, such as "All the world is a stage," and too much of a good thing, and a fool, met a fool in the forest. Jakes provides a sharp contrast to the other characters in the play, always observing and disputing the hardships of life in the country. Orlando, the youngest son of Sir Roland de Boys, is ill-treated by his brother Oliver. When he responds to the general challenge issued by the Duke's wrestler, Charles, Oliver tells Charles to endure Orlando if he can manage it. The Duke's daughter Celia and her cousin Rosalind watch the match, and Rosalind falls in love with Orlando. Orlando wins, but the Duke gets angry when he discovers that Orlando is the son of his old enemy, Sir Roland de Boys. Rosalind gives Orlando a chain to wear, and he falls in love with her. The Duke unexpectedly banishes Rosalind, and she decides to find her father, the real Duke, who has been overthrown by his brother, Celia's father, Frederick. Duke Sr. lives in the forest of Arden. Together with a court jester, Touchstone, the girls set out, disguised as a country boy, Ganymede and his sister Elena. Coincidentally, Orlando, fearing for his life, has also left home, accompanied by his father's servant Adam. In the forest, the group from the court encounters a young shepherd, Sylvius, and watch him being rejected by a shepherdess, Phoebe. As he declares his love for her, they meet an old shepherd, Corin, who is looking for someone to take over the sheep farm. Ganymede, who wants to settle in the forest, buys the lease. Duke Sr., unaware that his daughter is looking for him, is living a simple life with some courtiers and huntsmen. One of them is the melancholy Jakes, who has been just discussed before. He reflects constantly on life. Orlando and Adam arrive, and the outlaws welcome them and feed them. And from here onwards, the story begins. And now I am going to introduce this poem to you people. In the introduction to this poem, the name of this poem is The Seven Ages of Man. It has been acted in scene act number 2, scene number 7. And this scene has been drafted in the forest of Arden, while the narrator of these lines is Jakes, the discontented, melancholic lord. And this part of the poem is based upon the reality of life. These lines of the poem begin with a statement, all the world is a stage. This extended philosophical statement has since become one of the most celebrated speeches in the Shakespearean canon. Most learned people in the Western world recognize the lines, all the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. The point of view of the speech is colored by Jake's cynicism, yet the speech itself has such imaginative power that it transcends Jake's melancholy and causes one to pause and contemplate this schematic evaluation of man. According to Jakes, these are the 7 ages of man. My dear students, we have so far gone through the characters of this poem, introduction to the poet, background of the poem, and introduction to the poem. I hope you have clearly understood these 4 contents in part 1 of this video lecture. We will cover keywords and meanings in part 2. See you then in part 2. Till then, take very good care of yourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.